But what we tend to remember are the traumatic issues in our lives, and we bring those up from the past. So basically, you go pick a moment in your life where something happened that was really unsavory. What you can do is just sit down quietly, take yourself back to the time when the initial getting together was beautiful and lovely and everything was going well. And then go all the way up to the point where things stopped going well and create a new story in your mind.
Welcome to the Thriving After Divorce podcast, where you learn the secrets to reclaim your life and turn your breakup into your breakthrough. Transformation expert, internationally published author, and online show host Tanya Marie Dubé will help you quickly pick up and move on as you tune into interviews with some pretty cool experts from around the world, showing you how to live your best life after divorce. If you're ready to learn the skills to finally put your divorce behind you for good, dig down really deep, and step into your highest self, then you're in the right place. Here's your host, online educator and mom of two, Tanya Marie Dubé.
Hi, everybody. This is episode number 9. I'm so happy you're back with me again this week. I would like to remind you to please like, comment, subscribe, share, and please review this podcast. With my online video series, we've reached over 300,000 women all over the world. And my goal with this podcast is to reach 1 million women globally. So with your help, I know we can do this. When you teach a woman, you teach an entire community, and the love spreads. So please share this with your community, and let's reach this goal together. Today's episode is with a very dear friend of mine, Gregory Joseph. He is an internationally acclaimed intuitive healer and seminar leader with over 30 years experience who has traveled around the globe sitting at the feet of the masters. He learned to heal thousands of people of seemingly incurable diseases and many disabling physical and mental conditions. He has facilitated healing for international dignitaries, physicians, celebrities, and people just like me and you. Gregory utilizes profound healing techniques, which he learned from the masters, to fire up the power within you to heal, not only yourself, but others. So in this episode, we talk about how to talk to the person who is giving you a really hard time in your life. Greg shows us how to heal ourselves first and how to see the truth of the situation versus what we've made up in our minds. We talk about resentment and what it means to truly free yourself from holding your ex in a bad light and to finally shut that door for good. So for anybody who's going through anything crazy right now, anything crazy with another person, you're going to want to listen to this interview. Gregory is one of the most profound people I have ever interviewed, and he holds a pretty special place in my life. So please, everybody, stay tuned to the end. There is a special free gift for you guys that Gregory has prepared for you, and he would really like for you to have just for showing up for yourself today. So thank you to everybody who's listening, and please let's welcome Greg.
Hi, Greg. I'm so happy to have you here today. How are you?
I'm in the category of mighty fine.
Mighty fine. That sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah, I know. I love interviewing you. This is the second time that I've had the pleasure of doing this, and I think you're an amazing person, and I think everyone today who's listening is going to have a lot to think about when we're done.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just jump right in. I wanted to start with what you do and how you got started in the work that you do today.
Well, I do what a lot of people call energy healing. I actually bring people into their genius, into their inner knowing, to find the healing abilities that they already have. And this way they heal themselves. Amazing. How I got into that was a long time ago, and I don't recommend this. There's easier ways. Was my wife was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and they basically sent her home to die. And they had also told me I couldn't have any children, or she couldn't have any children. We couldn't have any together, but we have 2 beautiful children and 4 grandchildren now. So I didn't want, and I didn't believe them. And so it took me on a quest. I went around the world to visit masters that I had previously laughed at, thinking if it wasn't tangible, it really wasn't real. But I discovered through that journey that we can heal with our minds. That there's just tools that you need to know. It's not something that only gifted people have. I'll tell you this, we're all gifted, and we all have this ability. You just need to know the tools to get there.
Wow. So at that time in your life, and let me say, I'm very sorry about your wife. Every time we talk about your wife, you tell me such amazing stories. And I always feel I'm so sorry that happened. Out of that experience comes, you didn't see any of this healing energy work as anything significant whatsoever. So this really did lead you, this journey led you on the path that you're on now.
It truly did. And this is something, and when people say they're truly sorry, sure, I went through some grieving process and all, but when we realize that everything in this world happens for us. For example, I met a woman in Thailand after my wife did pass, and I said, well, why did you have to suffer? And the woman said, and she didn't even know, she could only speak Thai. And so she spoke to me through an interpreter, and she said, she said, it's easy. She said, there wasn't the best relationships between the women in her family, and my wife took on all that karma. And my daughter loves her daughter. It was pretty powerful. And also took me from a pretty rough, contractor with a lot of very opinionated views about things to an intuitive healer.
Wow.
So we think she just died, but no, you see, she came here to do something and she accomplished it. And this speaks to like honoring a person's life when they transition rather than, physically we grieve. It's okay. I'm not saying not to. It's a natural phenomenon when anything leaves, but truly to honor their presence as it still exists. It's living through me now.
Wow. So you believe that her purpose for being here was to end that cycle, right?
Yeah, at least those are the two that I know about. In truth, there was many others, and absolutely. And you bring up purpose. It's like we are our purpose. That's the thing. We go looking all over the place, the universe, to find our purpose, and like I traveled all the way to India to find out who I am, realizing that I could have stayed home and found out who I am because that's where I was. It's kind of funny, but that's how, as human beings, we have this human experience. And our purpose, for example, if you're compassionate or kind, or like you, intensely curious and loving, that's your purpose. That's who you are. You send that vibration out. You bring openness and open people's minds. That's like your gift. See, that could be, so you don't have to go looking for it. You are it.
Right. That's pretty amazing. I love talking to you. I love talking to you about this stuff. Last night when you and I were heavy into this amazing conversation, we were talking about, and it stuck with me and I've been thinking about it ever since, being tied to the things that we've made up about the past, this illusion. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, my favorite. It's because it's my favorite, and only recently because I've come to some deeper understandings and I'd love to share them.
Yes, please.
I was in Peru doing some ceremonies, and I was getting very quiet, and I would spend many days in meditation. And all of a sudden, all of these different colloquialisms, if you will, came to my mind. For example, there's no time, there's only now. And we hear this, but it's a difficult thing to really live, okay? And I thought, well, how does this fit with everything else? And then I hear, well, the brain doesn't know the difference between what we make up and what's real. For example, I'm really clear, we don't remember the past. We remember what we make up about it. And then here's the caveat. We remember what we make up about ourselves regarding what we made up about the past. Like somebody might have said that you love and care for and respect them. Might have said, boy, what you did was stupid. But your interpretation over the years was, I'm stupid. And then you go into an interview or something and you sabotage it because you're too afraid that you're stupid and you won't be able to do what you need to do. This is kind of how it works. So we make up things in the past. I'm really clear we don't remember the past. This is the illusion. Life isn't an illusion. The illusion is what we make up. Like
so that,
if something, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so that puts us in the position to really have control over so much of what we think we cannot control about ourselves.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely, yes. That's where I'm going next. You're a mind reader, So that's the illusion. Now, since an illusion is something we made up, it's subjective. If something happened to you, 20 years ago and you told the story a few days after, you're telling a whole different story about that same event now because your perception has changed.
Oh,
This
yes.
is why I say the past is an illusion. Now, right now is the reality. You're living right now. That's the reality that we have. The past isn't the reality. That's the illusion. So if we're living and keep bringing up things in the past, particularly traumatic things, we're going to continue to have traumatic things in our present because we're bringing them from the past to the present. And here's the deal. We're just bringing what we made up. You can change your mind. Now, having said that, it's deeper than that. You can actually go and change the past.
Okay. Yeah, and you're going to explain it to us how to do that, yeah?
Sure. You just made it up anyway. Right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. This is when we were talking about this last night, it really blew my mind because I was thinking, isn't that so funny how we will it's like this need for pain and suffering that we must feel like we have to endure something because we're constantly dipping into the past in these moments and bringing them into our future, which is really creating not only the now, but our future as well, which
Exactly.
it doesn't make any sense to do that. So yes, please tell us how to do
Yeah.
that.
Well, it would make a sense if, in fact, you're bringing up things to empower you.
Mm-hmm.
But what we tend to remember are the traumatic issues in our lives, and we bring those up from the past. So what I did, here's what I did. And I actually developed a bit of a process to do this, but I won't go into that right now. That'd be something we can do at another time. But basically, you go pick a moment in your life where something happened that was really unsavory, like divorce, something like that. Just happened to mention that,
Yeah.
Okay.
Something that's happening right now.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't like an amicable one, and maybe there was a lot of pain, misery, despair associated with it. What you can do is just sit down quietly, take yourself back to the time when the initial getting together was beautiful and lovely and everything was going well. And then go all the way up to the point where things stopped going well and create a new story in your mind. So if I say, well, gee, I was in this relationship, it was loving and beautiful, and then he or she started mentally abusing me, and it led to us eventually into a physical altercation, and the police came, and it was horrible. We both went to jail, and
Wow.
and we could, these things happen.
Yeah.
So you go from that point where everything is beautiful, and you say, and you know what happened next? We decided that, boy, we're just great people, but we're really not meant for each other. This is just part of our journey. And you recreate in great detail from that moment your life up to the present. You say, boy, we decided to split amicably. We decided to stay friends and raise our children in an amicable, peaceful, harmonious, productive environment. And you visualize it that you both can meet and go places still together because you don't have to hate each other or dislike each other just because you realize that happiness isn't there. Maybe this is just your journey, and your job was to create these, oh boy, we talked about this too, these extraordinary children that are going to take leadership roles in this world. Or,
Do you know what?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, please continue.
Yeah, I was going to say, or it might have just been that each of you, through your own genius, opened up doors for each other that you had never seen before. And when those doors opened, it created a different path for you in life. And that was your purpose for being together, much like my wife and I. See, we had a different purpose. Her purpose was to take me from one vocation and show me the path to find my own gifts and bring them to the world.
Isn't that something? I spend a great deal of time thinking about soul to soul connections and how, the people who are in our lives now, it's our souls. Did we make these agreements beforehand? Or did we plan on being in each other's lives for these reasons? And we're just sort of figuring it out in this human experience.
There's a lot of talk about this, and I would say the kind of tongue-in-cheek answer is, if you believe that, yes. Okay. and but yet I do have a sense that these things happen. I've been in circles of study where you find out that there's all of a sudden there's a certain circle of people around you that never seem to go away. They stay in your consciousness, whether you see them personally or not. And the idea is that when one person, and this has to do with an incredible philosophy called the power of eight, when one person in that group begins their journey into ascension just meaning higher knowledge, not that you turn into vapor or something, disappear. Okay.
Okay.
But just that you have the capacity to know, go beyond thinking, to tap into all the knowledge of the universe. And so you go into this process, and when one of that circle begins that process, everybody begins to do it as well. It's like popcorn. So from that perspective, I'd like to believe that. And as I said earlier, we're so powerful in our minds. We make up something that's creation. So why not make up something that serves you, that empowers you?
You know what I love about that too? I wrote this down when you were talking about recreating the past and going into the past. And I would imagine one of the questions that someone might have listening to that is, well, isn't that sort of like just making something up and pretending your way through it? And what I thought of as I was listening to you was that this agreement that you go back to recreate, where you're saying, we're not horrible people, we're just deciding that we're not good together. All of this is what actually did happen underneath the surface of all of the ego, right? Like what you're saying when you realize someone's not right for you is exactly that. You're not saying, unless they really are, tormenting another human being, but you're not saying you're the most horrible person in the world. You're just saying this just stopped working. And then all the ego gets involved in the people treating each other like possessions or, whatever goes on. But it becomes so unnecessary. And that's what I love about this recreation of the past is that you're giving yourself a healthy chance here.
Yeah, it's really amazing. We saw each other, we saw the beauty in each other, we saw the connection, we felt it. It was all just lovely. And like you mentioned something that's probably one of the biggest relationship killers that I know, and that's possession. Like, you have to do what I tell you now, or you can't. I remember with my wife a long time ago, we used to have pizza and beer and play cards with our friends every Friday night. And then we got married. She said, "Oh, we can't do that anymore." I said, "What? Why not?" She said, "Well, because we're married, we're responsible and all this." But I said, but these are my friends and your friends, and we really enjoy doing this. And so she wanted to alter my life in that moment. And I thought, wow, what's happened here? It's, we think, well, now that we're married, you, quote, belong to me.
Yeah.
Instead of what Khalil Gibran said, the prophet, he said, we live our independent lives together.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Shouldn't it? I've experienced this myself, and clients of mine, have experienced this with an ex-spouse or partner just decides that, well, if you're not going to be mine, then I'm going to make your life miserable. And that's another form of possession too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's and what's so unbelievable about that is the person that's doing that is in misery too. Mm-hmm. And there's a way to get out of that. I can explain it.
Okay.
And it's called, you're holding that person in a bad light. For example, you made up something about them. Like they did one thing that triggered you, not even actually what they did, but it triggered you because it's incomplete business within you. Okay? So I might do something and you say, wow, that was mean. You were very uncaring. How narcissistic. And from that moment on, instead of holding me like the Greek god that I really am, okay. Oh, just kidding around. So instead of holding, Me as this wonderful person that you first met. You're now everything that I do. I could say hello, and you're seeing me as mean, uncaring, and narcissistic. Because I should have said hello. Could I hold the door open for you or something?
Mm-hmm.
Just make up things based on that past belief system. Okay. Now, believe, B-E, then L-I-E, be a lie. Isn't that interesting? So what you do is then you say, okay, what's the opposite of mean? Well, let's say kind. And what's the opposite of uncaring? How about compassionate? Okay. And what's the opposite of narcissistic? Well, that's somebody that only cares for themselves. Instead, it's caring. Okay. So you go up to that person. I'm going to tell you this is going to change your life, so be careful. Okay. But if you really want to be courageous and get something done and have a beautiful life, this is something that can work. And the outcomes are extraordinary. So you go up to this person and you say, let's say their name is Bob. Okay, you say, Bob, I just want to talk to you for a moment. It's not something that we have to have a discussion about. I just want to share something with you. Do you have just a few minutes? That's all it's going to take. And they might hem and haw. And you say, it's just going to take a few minutes. I just appreciate it if you'd listen. And they'll eventually say yes. And you say, look, I've been holding you as mean, uncaring, and narcissistic. I want you to know that from now on, I'm going to hold you as kind, compassionate, and caring. And I'm telling you this because I'd like us to both enjoy the rest of our lives, or whatever your reason is. And that's it. And then if you're really smart, you'll walk away or hang up. Now, best thing is to do this in person. Second best thing, maybe on Skype. You could see each other. Third best thing, well, you could do it on the phone.
What do you think would happen in that same situation with someone who's perhaps a little more volatile and they're not quite rational or logical? Like how would you handle that?
Really super good question. Okay. One thing that I've discovered, for example, there were some incompletions I had with my wife. And I realized at one point, I must complete those with myself about her. I could not complete them with her. And here's the deal. Your own mind does not know the difference. Isn't that weird? And it's also, let me say it a different way. You've set out a different vibration. And that vibration is felt by everyone.
I agree. I believe that 100%. I've done these meditations with my past, I'll say one of my past partners, and where it wasn't a healthy relationship and it wasn't a healthy ending. And I've done this meditation where I have this visualization of me and this person. We talked about this last night, sitting together in this space in my mind. We're sitting together in this space in my mind and we're just sharing space, just sitting there looking at one another. And it, in that moment, what you're looking for, well, what I was looking for was just peace, like just soul to soul energy, vibrational, just peace. Nothing bad, nothing good, nothing negative, nothing anything other than just sitting together and sharing space. And I found after doing this several times that, he wasn't so angry toward me, which was shocking because the opposite of that, when I was thinking only negative things about, him upsetting me or doing things to, counteract, make things more difficult for my life or create chaos. When my mind was in that space, I think, God, I'm wondering if I made it worse because he was just awful, So that meditation and holding him in that space with me, just sharing energy, just in a very positive, healthy environment in my mind, I think was doing something positive. Now, that this whole world is relatively new to me and I'm loving it and I'm getting into it. And I really do believe because I've seen these changes when my high energy is out there and it's flowing, I see what it brings to me as well.
Yeah. So you went from, the way I heard this, angry, unsettling, and provocative is how you held him.
Yeah.
And you changed that to joyful, peaceful, and cooperative.
Yeah.
See,
I've gone up and down as you know. I mean, I've never been through a divorce before, so it's difficult. You feel until you get your head around the whole thing, which is sometimes hard to do, from the outside looking in. This is just one part of my human experience and not meant for me to get stuck inside of. So I do remind myself of this all the time. And then every now and then something will happen and I get sucked back into this vortex and I go back to that meditation again.
Yeah. The way I would say this is what you've done is you've realized you have to heal yourself first. This doesn't mean that this has to come first. It just means you've got to be able to see the truth of the situation as distinct from what you made up. And that sends out a powerful vibration. I'll give you an example. I worked with a woman who's, this is a very loving, beautiful family. And her husband and son were always bickering about how they're going to run their business. And they just didn't bicker with each other. They bickered through her. Okay. So through a kind of a special process that we did, we found out that many lifetimes ago, she was in a situation where the two family members were bickering and she wasn't there at one time and one of them died. She wasn't there to stop it. And this unfinished business, this pattern went lifetimes and was running in her in this lifetime. So she couldn't go with her friends. She couldn't go on vacations with her sister or going to shopping things with her girlfriends because she had to be there in case one of those things disrupted, meaning no one would die. Of course, it's just an idea. It's not really what would happen. So we removed the idea of her being in the middle through a process I worked with her on. And she called me a few months later and she said, "Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe how much they've changed."
Wow.
You see, she changed her, I would say, receptor site she closed it down so they couldn't tap into it. She changed her vibration. And that affected everybody around her. See, this is how powerful we are.
And I think maybe one of the reasons this is so understated is because it's not something you see immediately.
That's right. It's like grass growing. And all of a sudden you realize, wow, it's pretty good now.
Yeah. And it's also healing for yourself to not be carrying around such negative feelings, or oftentimes we make up stories in our heads too that have something to do with something bad that happened especially inside of divorce. And then you're feeding off of this thing you made up in your head that's not even real. Like, for example, I should have said this or I should have said that, or you go over and over and over these conversations that happened. And then the energy that you're taking with you off of that is so, the constriction in your chest and you're feeling bad. And oh God, the whole thing is just something that's not, I don't want any of it.
Yeah. Couple things with that. Really, God, you're really important. First of all, being resentful of somebody, you probably heard this, holding resentment is like a poison pill waiting for someone else to die.
Yeah.
It's like you're the one suffering. They just go on with their lives.
Yeah.
And that leads me to this. You just led me into something else here. It's like, instead of saying I should have, you say, what can I say now? You take full responsibility. How did I create this? Oh, how do I do peace and harmony and love? How do I not do peace, harmony, and love?
Yeah.
And so your unconscious mind needs to know what is not before it can know what is. How do I create separation? These are good questions. How do I create harmony? How do I actually do it?
Yeah.
You see, so every morning you might wake up and make your honey breakfast or do something wonderful for them. And then one day you might be ill and you don't do it. And then you say, this is kind of nice. I didn't have to wake up really early in the morning. And so you stop doing it. And you create this, and they're on the other side going, oh, what happened? Doesn't she love me anymore? Oh, and then this downward spiral. Oh my God, she or he must be having an affair. They're not taking care of me anymore.
Yeah.
It's just our imagination that's blowing the gig here, not what actually may have happened. You just didn't feel like getting up that morning.
Yeah.
That was it.
The most important takeaway for me when you're saying this is to remember to always just stick with the facts. You got to remove the emotion out of it. I feel, I don't know if you feel this way, but growing up as a woman in North America, as a little girl, I was always sort of taught to just put up with it, whatever it was, just put up with it, be quiet, don't be the nail, that sticks out because you're going to get smacked on the head. don't cause waves, stuff like that. And so, I think moving into our adult life, if nobody course corrects this for us, or the information doesn't come, like we were saying last night, you don't know what you don't know. Then we move into our adulthood, putting up with things that we shouldn't put up with. And there's no, where's the self-love and the self-care?
You resent yourself and then take it out on others and make it true.
That's it. Yes.
Okay. This is how powerful our minds are. Now, once, the first stage of healing is awareness. Once you start to realize these things, you can do something about it. And I don't even for a second belittle what you just said. I'm really aware of how women particularly have been trained to be subservient. The second seat, be quiet, and how do you be respected, heard, powerful, and safe if you can't even be who you are? That just stops the flow. I was recently co-hosting a retreat called The Divine Feminine. It was an extraordinary thing where I saw women really step into their power. And it changed my whole perception of things. It was just extraordinary because it was so, and when I say step into their power, I mean there was a complete marriage of the male and female energy. And this is called the Tekudo. It's a really beautiful energy. So instead of he, she, mother, father, God, all of these things, it's one. It's simply one. It's called the Tekudo. And when that happened, it was like flowers floating all over the place. It was just so beautiful. And in that, I achieved a level of freedom being around women that I don't know that I've ever experienced before, except when I was younger and football and baseball and pounding nails was more important. So when you step into your full power, there's a freedom that's shared with everyone because there's no expectancies. There's simply, you're in your power, you're in your truth, and you're actually being it. It's a very powerful place to be.
Wow, that's fantastic.
You don't demand anything. It just happens because of who you are. It comes into a place that a lot of people call self-love, self-respect, honoring yourself, loving yourself, only speaking the internal words that say, wow, I am the greatest. I am the best I can possibly be in this moment.
Wow, and that's a really good way to think before getting involved in anything. How can I be my absolute best in this moment?
Yeah, isn't it? And if we just ask a few little questions, am I entering this relationship because they have a beautiful car, they're a good dancer, they dress well, or does it calm my emotions, soothe my heart, quiet my mind, challenge my inconsistencies? I mean, if you have a relationship that has no obstacles in it, where is the growth? If you consider a relationship, maybe I heard a really great explanation. I was talking to this psychiatrist in Texas, and he said, here's what I do. My relationship with my wife, because I was curious, he's a psychiatrist, are you always working on her, or are you really in conversation, And he said, my relationship is like a tennis ball. He said, everything inside of there is my love for her and her love for me. Every event that happens in our lives happens outside that tennis ball. So we can always come back to that love for each other, no matter what difference of opinion we have, no matter how far we've missed the mark, we know our love is impenetrable.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
That is really cool. Yeah. And it takes two people to be on that same page. I find you both have to be on have the same idea about what the relationship means to you, don't you?
Well, let's take that to another level. Actually not, would be my thought. Now, you said there's certainly exceptions to everything, okay? But one time, let's imagine, Jesus said, turn the other cheek, right? So you'll get up in the morning, you say, oh, what a jerk you are. He says, oh, you're an idiot, and you leave. So you slap each other in the face, right?
Okay.
And then it happens again. You slap each other, Then you go, wait a minute, I don't want to play this slapping game anymore. And your hand comes up, but you don't slap. You don't finish the insult or whatever it is. And they slap you back, even though you didn't slap them. And it may take a couple of rounds before they realize, oh, we're not playing that game anymore. So you can actually change it. But you see, you created the game together. You can uncreate it together and create something new.
So no more codependency is what you're saying. You stop okay.
There's a great joke, it's like I was going to go to this codependent, meeting, but I didn't have anybody to go with. So you've got to take charge of your own life.
Yeah. Okay.
And to do that, you've got to start knowing who you are. Be aware. Women have such a great advantage here, generally speaking, because you're way more in tune with your bodies, and your bodies are the best barometer for what your thoughts and feelings are. You get to see what's going on. You get to feel it much quicker than men do.
Yeah.
You're more in touch with your intuition. This is what makes you so powerful, I'll tell you. And then, so that's the incoming energy, the wisdom. That's the female energy. Then there's an outward centrifugal force called the male energy. That's the actual doing, the action. So when you're so powerful, when you know who you are, when you know what it is you want to create, you use your intuition to know. You go beyond thinking. There are no mistakes there. I always tell people, I know your brain has no answers, but your heart has no questions. You simply go beyond thinking, When you let your heart guide you and then you step into action, that's what most men are afraid of, women, because it is powerful.
Wow. Okay, yeah, I could see that. You were talking a little bit about being able to slow down the mind a little bit. And I'm thinking that during divorce, your mind is sort of spinning out of control and you don't know which way is up. So what do you think about, what is your advice around stopping all of that so that you can take a step back and, renegotiate with yourself, if you will, your level of codependency and all of that, putting up boundaries in that.
Mm-hmm.
How do we slow down the mind?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you focus within. See, what gets our mind buzzing is we're looking outward, and there's so much stimulation. It's not just the person you're looking at, but it's all the events surrounding it, and it just muddles up the mind. So obviously, a really good method is one of the cornerstones of the teachings that I got from my teacher, and it's one of the cornerstones of my teaching, is to really center yourself. You've really got to get up, do things to love yourself. Like ask yourself, you wake up in the morning, what's one thing I could do all by myself that I would just love and adore? It doesn't count on anybody else to make it happen. And then you feel this love inside yourself. This is a beautiful calming effect. You could accentuate that, go out into nature. It speaks very loudly. You start to realize a tree doesn't want to be a flower, a rose doesn't want to be a tulip. They're just completely happy with what they are. And you begin to get these messages from nature. One of the ways this is called the rebound effect. And I'll tell you how to do it, okay?
Okay.
So we can even do it right now. I want you to think about your ex, okay? Well, let's just say about this person that you've separated with. Get rid of the word ex, okay?
Okay.
And we'll say, let's just think about them, bring them to your mind. And what we're going to do now is just take a couple of nice deep breaths. And just let all the thoughts and tensions and stresses just go away. Of anything to do with anything, just let it go away. Focusing on your breathing. I want to direct your attention inside to your heart. So when I count down from 3, I want you just to breathe in, hold your breath as long as you can. Well, let's just hold it for like 7 heartbeats. Count the heartbeats, tap into your heart, feel it. And then let the air out of your mouth as slowly as possible. We'll do this twice, then I'll take you on a little journey. So 3, 2, 1, breathe in a little more, and hold. Focus on your heart. And let the air out of your mouth as slowly as you can. And we'll do it again. We're going to breathe in through your mouth. our nose, and then breathe out through your mouth. This time we're going to count 15 heartbeats. So 3, 2, 1. Breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in some more and hold. Focus all my attention, all of my might on my heart. And while we're letting the air slowly out of our mouths, while I'm in my heart right now, I see that beautiful tiny little chamber of my heart, and there's a brilliant white light there about the size of the head of a pin. But it's so bright I can't help but see it. I use all of my imagination, all of my senses to see, feel, taste, touch, and know that this beautiful light is inside me. This is the most powerful force in the universe. I double this light in size in my imagination, double it again and again and again and again until it fills my entire heart. I feel it, the warmth of this beautiful energy in my heart. I double it again and again and again. It fills my entire chest cavity. And I double it again and again, and it bursts from my heart chakra and goes straight up into the heavens. This light goes higher and higher until it is up with the stars. I double it again and again and again. I can literally see it like a star in the sky. I see other bolts of lightning moving in and through this pulsating, spinning, vibrating, beautiful, clear white light. I send this light over this person who I am in dissension with. And I see this light go up over their heads. Wherever they are, my higher self knows exactly where it is and where they are. And then this light begins to descend over this person. As it descends, it turns into gold. And this beautiful golden light, as it comes closer to the earth, turns in your favorite God, could be Jesus, could be the Divine Mother. We'll use the Divine Mother in this case. Turns into the Divine Mother. And the Divine Mother is all about nurturing and unconditional love. And here's this golden Divine Mother now, just above this child of God, this child of the universe, this perfect being, who may have been missing the mark, and their pain is there. And this beautiful being, her palms facing forward, her fingers splayed down towards this beautiful being, healing golden waves of light flowing from her fingertips down and around and through this other perfect expression of the universe. And we simply say these words out loud: perfect this situation now, and let it go. So we say, perfect this situation now, and let it go.
Perfect this situation now.
Yeah. Now I want you to notice there's no apology. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no asking for what you want or what they want. It's about serving the highest and best good for everyone.
Wow.
This is a very powerful, very, very powerful prayer.
That is very powerful. You can't see my face, but I just had tears streaming down my face.
Yeah. And what you actually just did was communicate with this person at a very high level.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I worked with two sisters in New York City, and they hadn't spoken to their mother in 7 years. And we did this little ceremony together, the two girls and I. And the next morning, their mother called them and invited them for dinner.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt it at all. There's such an amazing thing that happens when your vibration is so high. You're seeking out the best for everybody. Nothing can upset you in that space. When you're in that element of yourself, all these amazing things start happening around you. So nobody can deny that that's not what's actually happening, right?
Yeah. And what does it matter? And see, here's the thing. You're doing it in silence yourself. When other people, you tell other people extraordinary things, their belief systems, oh, yeah, but maybe, and yeah, okay, let's have another beer, and
Yeah.
They don't believe in this, deletes and depletes the energy. When you do things like this, do it by yourself and of yourself and with yourself. Nobody really knows.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't invite any disbelief. Or if you're doing it, together with somebody, make sure you're aligned to the energy of empowering and loving yourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially don't go looking for acceptance with or someone's approval. Absolutely.
Sure. And you don't know how this is going to manifest.
Yeah.
Okay. But you do know it will, because you see, energy is just energy. And what makes energy work is your will.
Mm.
You direct it.
Yeah.
This is the kind of a funny thing. Like, our unconscious mind runs us. It makes associations that we don't even know about. Like if you're walking in a road and there's a frog hopping around in the road and a car runs over it and the frog was green, and you look up and there's a green Christmas tree. And so you associate the Christmas tree with death. It doesn't have anything to do with logic or reality. It just has to do with every time Christmas comes around, you associate it with death. You don't know this, but it operates within you. It's called a program. And so you need to give your unconscious mind a directive. Say, hey, we're going to hold Christmas as a beautiful, peaceful time in our lives and loving time of giving and appreciation and compassion. Right. And you've got to do that, and then your unconscious mind will follow.
This is why it's so important to not harbor all of these feelings about these ideas that we've made up in our heads about a relationship that didn't work.
Oh, well stated and understated. I mean, just really, you're the one in pain if you're thinking painful thoughts.
Yeah.
It's just a weird thing. That's how it is. Yeah. So why would you do that to yourself? So instead, love yourself. Instead of saying, ooh, how could somebody do this to me? You say something like, wow, how could I effect a change here?
Mm.
What's my participation?
Yes.
I mentioned that a little bit earlier. You see, when you look at yourself and say, oh, I see, this is how I get people angry. I notice I didn't just do it with him or her. I'm doing it with everybody at some level.
Yeah.
Because your program is your program. You'll operate the same no matter where you go.
No matter where you go. This has been such an amazing time with you. I hope that everybody who's listening did that visualization with me while I was doing it, because I felt like that was just such a powerful moment for me. I know that I'm going to do that again often.
Yeah. You can do it with anyone, any place, anytime.
Yeah.
Okay, because notice, I'm not imposing my will on anyone. We're not asking them to do something that you want. We're just saying, perfect this situation now. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because people say, well, you should have permission to work with other people and so on. That's if you're asking for something special. You both have a similar goal, something like this. But see, we're not imposing our will on that person. We're just saying, perfect this situation now. And this helps people come to a higher vibration, and then they can operate still within their truth.
Yes.
Makes sense?
Wow. It absolutely makes sense. Thank you. Thank you for everything today. I wanted to, before we go, you have a free gift for everybody. Did you want to talk about that?
Yes. For people that are listening here, and Tanya asked me, she said, is there something you could give everybody? And I think one of the best things I could do is, and this is how I want you to think of yourself, the best thing I could do is give some of myself. So I'm going to offer a 30-minute complimentary, pain-free breakthrough session. It's like an interview. And this interview is to help you to establish direction, focus, and what action steps you may want to take to help yourself. And will also be to see if we're compatible, to see if I might be that next step for you, or I may be able to recommend somebody to you, or you may just have gotten enough that you know what to do.
That's very amazing and absolutely generous. And I think that anybody who took you up on that would be very happy for it. Every time I talk to you, you make me feel safe. And I've told you this before, and I love our conversations. You're a very, very, very spiritual person. And I love that about you.
Oh, I appreciate you bringing that up. I think the Dalai Lama said it really well. He said, just love yourself and be kind to others. And I just love that.
So
Love yourself.
Yeah.
When you're loving yourself, you're more apt to be kind. Yeah.
Yeah. That's absolutely beautiful and very simple and amazing words to live by. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm honored that you're here with us, and and thank you.
Sure. Do you need to? I guess you'll put it on a link, and they'll be able to get a hold of it.
Absolutely. The link for this breakthrough session with Gregory is going to be in the show notes underneath this interview. So everything will be under the show notes, and it'll send you right to his website. Thank you to everybody who's listening. You're listening to Thriving After Divorce Radio. I am your host, Tanya Marie Dubé, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Greg.
Thank you. Real pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you again so much for joining us on the Thriving After Divorce Radio podcast. We're coming to you every Monday morning so that you can start your week with intention and some powerful advice for what you're dealing with. So please subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends and your family. My goal is to help change 1 million lives with this work, because when you teach a woman, you teach an entire community. Everybody benefits and the love spreads. So please feel free to comment, review, share, and like. With your help, I know I can reach this goal. So have a beautiful day, and we will see you next week.